Good for Sam Darnold. I think it's going to be two questions answered at one time. One is, was he a product of his environment? Or will he produce in his new environment? And will he produce in his new environment? Because I think a lot of evaluators, myself included, thinks that Sam Darnold got a raw deal playing for the Jets, especially playing for Adam Gase and that Adam Gase effect, which is a negative effect typically on some of these offensive star players. That said, I'm looking at a situation in Carolina where you look 5-11. Teddy Bridgewater, I don't know what you did to anybody in that organization, but boy, I haven't seen somebody's name and game drug through the mud more so than Teddy Bridgewater as an afterthought in terms of their plans going forward. But in their plans going forward, as we know, offensive coordinator Joe Brady sits there. He looks around. He's like, look, Teddy ain't it. Now, who is out there that is it? Sam Darnold, obviously one of the players. I used to see Sam Darnold play almost weekly when he was here at USC covering the games. And I used to watch him. And, you know, the whole USC stigma of quarterback was always in your head when you watch me like, is he going to be another one of those? Mark Sanchez. And then I was like, now, Sam Darnold looks different. But then he goes to the Jets, and he didn't look that much different in terms of what his win-loss percentage was, his passing yards per game, 35th. How you 35th in anything in the NFL when there's only 32 teams? You know how. When you're not a guy that's playing up to standard. Now, it's all on you, Sam Darnold. I think the opportunity is right for him to do well in Carolina. I don't think it's a team that's close, but certainly it will be beneficial for Sam Darnold to shine out there.
I agree with that take. I'm going to say this. It's a huge win for Sam Darnold, and I think for the first time I've seen Joe Douglas make a move that I question. Let me tell you first, huge win for Sam Darnold. Remember Joe Brady, offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. Joe Brady was the offensive coordinator at LSU when Joe Burrow had the historical season that broke all the records. The same Joe Burrow that couldn't beat out Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State transfers to LSU, and now he goes crazy because of Joe Brady. Keeping in mind, Joe Burrow is actually older than Sam Darnold. So give Joe Brady a young quarterback that has skill sets, that has the tangibles and intangibles that he can mold, and I think Sam Darnold will go ball like we all thought he could when he was made the number 3 overall pick just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Now, why is it a suspect move for the Jets? Because quarterbacks that are forced to start immediately always struggle. Whether it is, let me not say this, they don't always struggle, they don't necessarily maximize their potential. Whether it's going to be Justin Fields or Zach Wilson, now they're going to have to be thrust into the starting lineup right away. I said this before, I'll say it again. Last year's NFL MVP, Aaron Rodgers, he sat for 48 weeks before becoming the starter. The year before that, the MVP, Lamar Jackson, he sat for 9 weeks before becoming the starter. The year before that, the MVP, Patrick Mahomes, he sat for 15 weeks before becoming the starter. The year before that, the MVP, Tom Brady, he sat for 18 weeks before becoming the starter. The last 4 NFL MVPs have sat before being thrust into the starting lineup. So who was the worst quarterback last year statistically by passer rating? The man we're talking about now, Sam Darnold. He was thrust into the starting lineup right away. Huge win for Sam Darnold in that now he's coupled with Joe Brady, but I question the Jets because now that talented pick they will take with the number 2 overall pick will be forced to start right away. And when you are forced to start right away, that doesn't necessarily guarantee you long-term success, although it looks like success in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be that deep. First, you got to just pull yourself out of this bad situation if you're the New York Jets and also put some focus on Adam Gase. Do or die for you, Adam Gase. Ryan Tannehill, much better player without Adam Gase. We can see it, 93 passer rating to 110. Devontae Parker, better player without him. Jarvis Landry, Kenyon Drake. Sam Darnold started seeing ghosts with Adam Gase as his offensive coordinator, head coach mindset. And that was a problem for Sam Darnold because he couldn't figure it out in this situation, in this circumstance. So then, usually in that situation, you're doomed. You become what a Josh Rosen became in the same draft. Remember Josh Rosen, bounce around. Where's Josh Rosen right now? 3rd string on depth chart. And if you look at his situation, he comes out in the same draft with Baker Mayfield, comes out in the same draft as a Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So you can see the disparity between some of these guys are hitting. You can talk about Lamar Jackson. You could talk about certainly Josh Allen. And still questionable Baker Mayfield, but looking like a hit potentially. And then there's Rosen and Darnold. Rosen, for all intents and purposes, people are like, yo, I don't even know if he's ready for this situation upstairs. Sam Darnold seems like he's fully into this moment, fully invested, but it just was the bad situation. Absolutely. So sometimes the seed can't take root because of the soil. And the Jets soil is not the type of soil to cultivate.
Let's go there, Sal. Because at least in football, I'm a fervent believer that the environment more so dictates the outcome necessarily than the product itself. At least in football. I believe so in life, but we're going to have a football conversation.
Let's do it.
Baker Mayfield looked average at best prior to this season. But remember Baker Mayfield prior to the season. His first coach was Hugh Jackson, who was 1-31 the previous 2 years before Baker Mayfield took over. Then Baker Mayfield has a coach in Freddie Kitchens, who has half a year being an offensive coordinator before becoming a head coach. Meanwhile, Baker Mayfield also had a coach in Greg Williams for a temporary head coach in Greg Williams, who made a call so egregious this past season for the Jets, a team in question that we're talking about, that we questioned if Greg Williams was throwing the game. Then you brought in a competent head coach for Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski, and all of a sudden, he's one of 5 quarterbacks in the NFL this year with more than 30 touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions. A coach can really make a player blossom. We've gone in an era of a day and age, Sal, where we put too much blame on players. Oh, this dude sucks. This dude is terrible. I just refuse to believe that these incredibly talented top-flight quarterbacks are all just terrible. I think they go to terrible organizations. So I refuse to believe that a quarterback like Sam Bradford was just that bad. But no, when you go to organizations like the Rams that are that bad at the time, all of a sudden, Sam Bradford can look that bad. I refuse to believe that Jameis Winston was just all that bad. But when you go to an organization like you mentioned in the Bucs that hadn't won since 2002, all of a sudden you can look that bad. So a quarterback like Sam Darnold, you saw him. I was a college football analyst for 4 years prior to coming on this show, so I watched him in great detail. Sam Darnold was a dude. Now, he had some dudes with him, but he was a dude. All of a sudden, big dog, he's seeing ghosts. Worst passer rating in the league. That's not all on Sam Darnold. The Panthers will have a quarterback of the future, especially with Joe Brady. Now, the Jets really the team that people got to figure out, like, man, how long are they about to struggle? Because I think Sam Darnold is great now in good hands, and I think the Panthers are in better hands.
Wow, so many things are going to get answered with this. The Jets, can they turn the page, flip the page, and actually find the quarterback that they're really desiring that can affect the win-loss column? Adam Gase, are you really a head coach or not? Like, this year is going to be telling in terms of that. But also Sam Darnold, are you better than your circumstance? Are you greater than your greatest excuse? Your greatest excuse before was the New York Jets, that roster, that team, your head coach. But that's all gone now. You're in a situation where you can blossom, where you can go out there and do some things. It takes me to conversations we used to have as players, and I have a different ego in terms of being a football player. I have a tremendous ego when it comes to being a person of character, like as a father, as a brother, as a husband, etc. But when it came to being a football player, I ain't had the same kind of ego as I saw a lot of my teammates. That didn't make me better or worse, actually. But I used to look at situations and address them like this. 97% to me, 97 out of 100 football players are system players. Like we want to walk around thinking we the Dondadas. Like everywhere I go, dog, I'm going to make my impact. Yeah, but you're going to need a lot of help with you. Case in point, you can see a quarterback in this situation, bust or boom. You can see a defensive tackle ball out one year. Next year, let him lose the defensive end who was getting all the pressure around the corner. So now the quarterbacks can run around. Same D tackle, sorry. J.J. Watt comes to mind. How did J.J. Watt fall off the hill? 2 things. 1, injuries, but more so, hey, dog, who else is out here doing stuff with me? Nobody. This is a situation where I'm looking at Sam Darnold. Are you of the 97%? Are you a system? Are you just going to go to the Jets and be sorry, go to Carolina, be all right, and maybe go to a good team after that if you don't make it work in Carolina and be good or great? Point is, it's on you right now. Look in the mirror and see if Sam Darnold can respond.
Now a lot of pressure, not only, like you said, Sam Darnold, not only will be telling about Adam Gase now that he's departed, like, hey, big dog, how bad were you? But also it's going to be very telling of Joe Douglas, the GM for the Jets. We've praised him since he stepped foot on the scene, right? He ends up moving Jamal Adams, gets a ton of picks from the Seahawks. Okay. He ends up facilitating all of these right moves. Everything looks great, has a lot of draft capital. But now everything hinges on this number 2 pick. First off, everything hinges on who you going to take. You going to take Zach Wilson, you going to take Justin Fields, you going to take Mac Jones, who you going to take? Regardless, you going to look kind of bad. Why? Because whoever the 49ers take is going to have more success than whoever you take. And it's not because of your quarterback, but it's more so because whoever the 49ers take is instantly going to succeed. So whoever you take is now going to be compared to someone who will immediately produce greater. Why does that matter? Let's talk big picture. Mitch Trubisky, 25-13 his last 38 games. Dak Prescott, 20-17 his last 37 games. Why has Mitch Trubisky been drugged through the mud for so long? Mitch Trubisky, Pro Bowler 2018. Dak Prescott, Pro Bowler 2018. Mitch Trubisky, more playoff appearances or just as many as Dak Prescott these last 3 years. Why has Mitch Trubisky's name been drugged through the mud? Because Mitch Trubisky has for so long been compared to Patrick Mahomes, same draft class, been compared to Deshaun Watson, same draft class. So whoever the Jets take with this number 2 overall pick is forever going to be compared to who the Niners take at number 3 and also who the Jags will take in Trevor Lawrence at number 1. Joe Douglas, his future, as the general manager for the Jets, it truly lies in this decision, which is why I think so risky to go all in on a quarterback either at BYU that didn't play any Power 5 games this year or a quarterback in Justin Fields. But either way, Joe Douglas, you just put your whole future on a rookie quarterback. To me, that's interesting.
How about this? All of that was interesting. Let's put a cherry on top. Will the 49ers take the lead in this situation, just like they followed when you saw with Carolina? You trade away if you're the Sam Darnold and the Jets, you give them away, right? Are the 49ers going to sit there and try and give away Jimmy G? You think that could happen?
That's a good point.
I don't think it's that
I don't
good.
think it will happen. I think it's a good question. Here's why I don't think it will happen. Number one is this. The Jets played themselves, and I'm glad you went to this point. The Jets played themselves. If y'all were going to trade Sam Darnold, trade Sam Darnold before the Niners make their move. Why? Because when the Niners trade up to get that number 3 overall pick, we all knew the Jets drafting a quarterback. We all knew the Jets was drafting a quarterback because the Jets would have made the move instead of the Dolphins. So when the Jets don't trade the number 2 overall pick, we all like, boom, y'all drafting the quarterback.
Okay.
If we know you drafting a quarterback, Jets, you want to know who just lost his value? Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is worth more to a team that needs him, is worth more than a second and a fourth
and a sixth.
He's worth more than that. But you want to know when I know he's not worth more than that? When you going to draft a rookie quarterback. So now the Niners, if you was going to trade Jimmy G.
Oh, I'm glad they're not.
Do you trade Jimmy G now that we know he a backup to y'all anyway? I don't think the Niners will trade him because I don't think they'll get what they want. Because if all Sam Darnold got was this second, this fourth, and this sixth, the Niners ain't getting this first rounder that they want with Jimmy G.
There it is.